Live, YouTube Live, 900 AM, 96.1 FM in the Philadelphia area. The WURD app, the Word app. Get it in your app store. I think it's even in the BlackBerry app store.
The BlackBerry still has an app store?
Dude, I'm just starting off with jokes.
I was about to say, wait a minute, what?
I miss my BlackBerry.
I love BlackBerry. BlackBerries are really cool.
BlackBerry is an abject lesson on arrogance.
Mm.
You know, remember they had they had the corner they had the corner they had the corner locked down.
Yeah.
Because they had the business community who just
Yeah.
loved them. And so they had all these like orders that they didn't care if the customers didn't like it because the business community did. And I kept saying when Android was like really starting to take off, I'm telling you, anybody who knows me knows that I kept saying, I was like pleading on, I don't even think social media was out there, but I was pleading to anybody who would listen, who had a connect with BlackBerry, please cut a deal with Android. Cut a deal, save yourselves, but they went out like the dinosaur. And alas, now we're down to iPhones and Androids. But let's be honest, BlackBerry was the dopest smartphone of them all.
I love that BlackBerry. It was a very cool phone.
That keyboard.
Yes, it was. The keyboard, that was the thing.
Oh, anyway, so the two of us reminiscing here, as we often do. We often start our show down memory lane, giving up our age. Now we're like two old
men. Some young folk like, what's a BlackBerry?
we're like the two old dudes at McDonald's drinking coffee, like 6 in the morning till 10 in the morning. Right?
See, I bet you had a big phone.
Let me see. I did have a bag phone. I also had, but my favorite phone of all time was the big Motorola. We called it the Brick.
Yes.
That thing was like so big you could like barely get in your back pocket and stick out like a walkie-talkie from World War II.
Yes, I had one of those too. Yes.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, that brick Motorola was like all of that.
But it was funny because you used to see the guys walking around the mall with the bag because it was the big bag phone back then, you know.
Now we keep that in the car, you know. Well, the funny thing, but back then, remember, you had the phone, but you didn't have money for minutes.
That's right. And the minutes were expensive. They were really expensive.
No lie, I would not call my friend's name out back in Oakland. But we were riding one day. He had a phone in his car mounted, but it wasn't on, obviously, like most of us. And so we pull up, and there's these young ladies in the car next to us. And he's like, hold on, man. He picks his phone up and leans back. I said, who are you talking to? He said, come on, man, just go along with it. Imagine trying to impress somebody with a cell phone.
But that was the thing back in the day, though. If you had a cell phone, it was like, remember the pager. Before the cell phone, there was the pager. Everybody had a pager.
Do I remember? Heck yeah. So listen, folks, glad that you are with us. Sitting here going down memory lane, and sitting across from me is Bishop Dwayne David Royster.
And sitting across from me is the Reverend Dr. Mark Kelly Tyler.
And sitting in the studio, scratching her head like on Google right now, trying to find out what a BlackBerry is and a bag phone is Kawesa, our millennial.
Good morning.
Did you know what a bag phone was? I'm just curious.
I've heard of a bag phone, but I don't know if I've ever really seen one. But I know what a BlackBerry is.
Let me tell you, that was a purse men were not, they didn't care about wearing, being accused of wearing a purse.
That's right.
Because there was a phone in that bad boy.
Absolutely.
God.
That's funny.
How far we have come.
Yeah, in a very short period of time. I mean, look, just think about it for a minute, right? BlackBerry was big because it was a big controversial issue during when Obama became president, right? President Obama became president. He had a BlackBerry, and the Secret Service was having a fit because he didn't want to give it up, and they couldn't secure it because of the way they had created the infrastructure for BlackBerry. And so they eventually made him give up the phone. And so that was, that was a thing, which was kind of funny. Now, that was, 12 years ago? And yet, now BlackBerry, barely exists.
Look, Ed Minner says he has one in his desk drawer. He just can't bear to toss it.
I do. I have one, too. I've got actually two of them that are actually in my my top drawer in my bedroom that are just sitting there.
Damn you, BlackBerry. I'm, I'm serious, man. I saw the handwriting on the wall. I was just like, I was angry for about 2 years before they went extinct because I just saw it coming. And their pride and their arrogance, man, would not let them. By the time they decided to open up their tech, it was too late. That was the thing. They had the proprietary kind of, ownership of this incredible technology that made BlackBerry work. But man, by the time, it was like, who cared at that after that point? We had gone to virtual keyboards. Nobody cared anymore about their little, touch QWERTY board. So
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, can I
yeah.
just say something real quick? So I just actually, Ronnie Casanova online was mentioning on Facebook that Tony Brown, who used to do the Quiet Storm, has passed on to become an ancestor. And I also wanted to lift up, for my fraternity, which is one of the younger black fraternities, that's a part of the Panhandle Council, we actually lost one of our last. We have one more founder that's still alive, but one of our founders, Frank Coakley, passed the other day for Iota Phi Theta. To all the Iotas that are out there listening, rest in power, Founder Coakley.
Wow, man, that's amazing. To actually have your founder still with you. I hope you all take advantage of that for the IOTAs and um, get as much information from him as you can while you still can. And certainly prayers for the family of the deceased. And yeah, Tony Brown, I saw that news. I'm like, man, I tell you, Cody Anderson first this
Yeah,
week and Tony Brown, two of the like real legends in Philadelphia radio.
that's right.
Um, you know, yeah, yeah, and really don't have even the words for it. So I'm sure that people are really grieving. And it highlights, an important part about COVID-19, which is that under normal circumstances, you have to imagine that there would be some massive kind of like, gathering, something big, something to really
Right.
celebrate their lives that was public, where people could come together and talk together about the ways they were impacted, especially by those two on radio. And you just can't do that. I mean, it's not safe, it's not prudent, and it is. I've been saying all along is even from the church perspective, while most things are pretty good, you're able to still have meetings and worship and everything else. It is the grieving piece that is really the most difficult part of this moment for me.
Yeah. No, I think that's right. I mean, I think, even as we're thinking about Brother Coakley, the brothers across the country are, and he was also a member of we were part of the same grad chapter as well, because all of our founders were members of grad chapters too, all the ones that are still with us. And yeah, it's like, what do you do I mean, we can't do what we normally do. I mean, there would probably be thousands of IOTAs gathering to celebrate his life. And, it'll be complicated because of COVID. So definitely thinking about that and wrestling with that. And actually, the chapter I belong to is like 10 preachers in there. So it's like we're all trying to figure this out as well. So,
Yeah, man.
absolutely.
This morning also, we got a few things we want to talk about, but while we're here, uh, I appreciate the fact that the Inquirer actually brought this young man's story out. It's a very sad story of a teenager who was shot and killed outside of a 7-Eleven in Southwest Philly
Hmm.
this week. Typically, these stories, as we've been very critical of the way the Inquirer reports them, is just kind of the, black male shot and killed, suspect black male, move on to the next story. But they bring out the story, and it really highlights, man, just how like really just tough it is out there. And I remember this actually growing up in Oakland, where this almost happened in a
Hmm.
situation where I was as well, where the young man is literally minding his business, and a young adult walks in the store. This young man was 16 years old, Khalif Myrick, and the guy looks at him and says, "What you looking at?" To which the young kid says back to him, "What do you think?" He says, "I don't know what you looking at."
Hmm.
Got shot dead for that.
Yeah.
I mean, and I just tell you, man, like I said again, growing up the way I did, I mean, I was in a situation very similar to that, and thank God it didn't end up with bullets. And but there are people who have that kind of hot head, just unstable, And I don't know where you put that in the conversation of public safety with everything that we talk about, and the kinds of things that we believe are necessary to reform gun violence. In a moment like that, that is instantaneous. I mean, these are the kind of things that it's difficult for community, people who work in the community, community organizers, law enforcement, family, friends. It's just hard to stop a moment like this. And so, man, 16 years old, praying for his family. He just went to the store with his cousin. And
Yeah, but there are things that can be done about that, though. I mean, part of that has to do with gun laws, who's able to get the gun laws. Pennsylvania has got a problem with loopholes in terms of straw purchases. I mean, there are a bunch of women that are sitting in state prison and the county jail right now who went in, bought guns for their boyfriends or friends who could not buy guns because they've had, criminal records. They buy the guns, and then the boyfriends, the friends, whomever, go back out, sell those guns on the street. Those guns are then used in the crime, but because they can trace the original purchase back to the woman, she winds up getting jailed as a result of it because she's technically the gun owner. We need to look. I understand people want to have the right to have their own guns, but I think that there are laws that have to be used, right? There are laws that are supposed to check to make sure that people don't have mental health history. And I guess I'm reacting. Let me just say, I'm reacting to this a certain way because 2 weeks ago, my youngest daughter, who was a senior in high school, one of her classmates, who actually she had several classes with, was shot and killed in Maryland in the exact same situation. He was walking down the street. A guy who was evidently having a mental health break thought that he was staring at him and went and shot him shot him dead. The police interviewed the guy when they finally caught him, and he said he was staring at me. He didn't even say anything. He just said he was staring at me, and he killed him. And so I think we have to be careful about who we are letting own guns in this country and who we're letting have the capacity to get ownership of guns. That's definitely a problem that has to be addressed.
Okay. I mean, I hear you, but I don't think, listen, bro, I'm looking at this number right here, right now. If this data is correct, there are approximately 400 million plus guns.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
So change it.
There are more guns than citizens.
Well, and so let me just take you back. So we were reminiscing about BlackBerry and bag phones. So the incident that I was in, again, I won't call any names, won't really go into any details, but let's just simply say that, a lot of this involved kind of like trying to talk somebody down from doing something similar to this in just an instant. And the guns involved were not purchased legally. I mean, you're talking about like teenagers who had guns, looking at another teenager. So, I mean, you could change all the gun laws today, and this will be a problem now perpetually in the United States because guns are just so pervasive that even if they didn't manufacture another gun, because guns don't have an expiration date, because if you keep them maintained, they will continue to work now for hundreds of years into the future. I mean, I don't understand, all I'm saying is that these kind of things, I mean, there's something else at work here, and it is a part of the trauma of our history and everything.
Absolutely.
I mean, you think about Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Black Bottom, yep.
Yeah, we were talking about that play the other day in the movie, and, it is really something that the Chadwick Boseman's character, and hopefully you've seen it, if not, the spoiler alert, we're going on a break in 2 minutes. You might want to turn it off and come back at 6:23 if you don't want to hear the ending. But, the fact that Chadwick Boseman's character is, he finds himself impotent in going against the white people who continually play him.
That's right.
And he turns his rage on the most helpless black guy around him. He doesn't take on the tougher black guy, but he goes for the guy who is the easiest target and, kills him in a fit of rage because he's mad at white people.
That's
I
right.
mean, and that's what I'm saying. So how do you stop that from happening? How do you police that? How as a neighborhood do you stop it? How as a family do you stop it? I mean, the kid went to the 7-Eleven. He didn't expect to get killed. Likewise, the shooter, whoever that person is, because right now they have a suspect, so we're not going to say that he was the person, the suspect, but whoever shot him, someone did do that, also just went to 7-Eleven. So two families forever broken, forever shattered. Life will never be the same because of what? I mean, that question about what you're looking at, it is a cry for trying to get respect.
Yeah.
And there is a reason that folk feel so disrespected, but that ain't the way that you get the answer.
I totally agree with you on that. And yeah, that's a problem, and we got a lot of work to do around that.
Wow, man. Yeah, I mean, it's, yeah, let's see, Wamega, good morning, brother. I have a serious systemic solution. Oh, okay, you got a solution to the inner violence. Yeah, I mean, well, a lot of us, you know, there are a lot of people who have solutions, but I'm going to tell you, man, this is a hard problem to get your hands around because it happens so fast. And if you have never been in it, it's probably hard for you to even really kind of imagine. I mean, if you've not been immersed in a life that is surrounded by violence and violent people and yourself being violent, it's probably, you're probably like, wait a minute, he just killed him because somebody looked at him? Yeah. You know, me and my boy riding down the street one day in Oakland, you know, got a couple of girls in the car with us, car with 5 or 6 dudes roll up next to us. I happen to look over, catch eye contact with one of the guys, takes his 7-Eleven big gulp, bam, throws it on the car window. You know what I mean? That's what happens. You know, that could have not been a big gulp. That could have been a gun.
Absolutely.
Shots fired into the car. Why? Because you're looking at me.
Yeah.
And again, there's something.
In itself is ridiculous, right? That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm just saying, brother, there's something deep to that. Look, we got to take a break. We're over. The time is 6:21. When we come back, we want to unpack what's going on with the Philadelphia School Board and a move what appears to be a lack of transparency and community participation, and contrast that with what Councilmember Catherine Gilmore Richardson has done in an effort that has not gotten the kind of attention it should, that really heightens what public officials ought to do in the sense of, you know, encouraging the democratic participation in our process. This is the Power Hour. We'll be right back on the other side.
Just one more step. You got it.
You're doing great. This is the sound of a nationally ranked top rehabilitation hospital, home to the largest collection of robotics in the United States, where we continually exceed patient expectations. Because no injury is too severe or too minor for our care.
There you go.
This is the sound of success. Moss Rehab. Challenge accepted.
February 25th at 7 p.m., New Voices for Reproductive Justice in partnership with WURD hosts Black Women Green Future, Environmental Justice and the New Political Landscape. The first event of Women of Color, History Month, is a national conversation with Jackie Patterson of the NAACP, PA State Rep Summer Lee, Norbise Flint of Black Women for Wellness, and Corrine Taylor of We Act for Environmental Justice. Register online at newvoicesrj.org. That's newvoicesrj.org.
Are you tired of eating the same thing day after day? Is ordering takeout starting to get a little old? If so, then give Premium Nutrition Meals a try. With Premium Nutrition Meals, you get to select new entrees each week from several different menus, all chef-crafted, freshly prepared, and delivered right to your door. Just go to premiumnutritionmeals.com to order to earn rewards today. WURD listeners receive $10 off orders of 6 meals or more. Enter code PREMIUMWURD at checkout.
Did you know you can catch the flu and COVID-19 at the same time or even back-to-back? Don't risk catching the flu during the COVID-19 pandemic. The flu shot is a safe and effective way of reducing your chances of catching the flu or spreading it to others. And the flu shot helps protect you and your community from the worst effects of the flu. Don't say, I should have got my flu shot. Call your doctor or visit your pharmacist and get your flu shot today.
WURD Radio celebrates Black History Month with Black Artist Story 365, brought to you by Southwest Leadership Academy Charter School.
Welcome to Black Artist Story 365. My name is Envy McKee. Get into this episode where we explore the art and artistry of Academy, Emmy, and Golden Globe award-winning actress, director, and producer, Regina King. Part 1. Regina Renee King was born in Cincinnati, Ohio, and grew up in Los Angeles, California. In 1985, she played the role of Brenda Jenkins on the television series 227. You remember Brenda? Miss Mary's daughter. Then she went on to play in just about every iconic Southern California black coming-of-age film in the repertoire. It started with John Singleton's Boys in the Hood, Poetic Justice, and Higher Learning. In 1995, she was featured in the iconic film Friday. The next year, she starred with Martin Lawrence in A Thin Line Between Love and Hate, and then she was in Jerry Maguire as Marcy Tidwell. You know, the wife of Academy Award winner Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character. In the movie Enemy of the State, she played Will Smith's character's wife. Child, Regina King done been in How Stella Got Her Groove Back, Mighty Joe Young, Down to Earth, Daddy Daycare, Legally Blonde 2, Red, White, and Blonde, A Cinderella Story, Ray, Miss Congeniality 2, Armed and Fabulous, and the iconic This Christmas, to name a smattering. Lest we forget is Queen Duchess Regina King's iconic voice of both Huey and Riley Freeman for the animated series The Boondocks. For the culture. So that's it for this episode of Black Artist Story 365. My name is Envy McKee. To hear more, tune in to The Envy McKee Show, Friday nights, 7 to 10 p.m., right here on WURD.
Black Artist Story 365 was brought to you by Southwest Leadership Academy Charter School and the Pennsylvania Lottery. Get to winning with Win, 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 the new scratch-off from the Pennsylvania Lottery. With top prizes of $500,000. Players must be 18 or older. Please play responsibly. Benefits older Pennsylvanians every day.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Dwayne Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler. We're here Monday through Fridays from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. to bring you the latest in news, happenings around Philadelphia, and, of course, our opinions. Hey, just want to shout out all those folk that are listening to us both on Facebook and on YouTube. We're monitoring both. At this moment, and especially those that are on YouTube. We don't normally do this, but if you're out there on YouTube, shout out, say hello so we know you're there. We see Dre Terry and Beatrice Sims that are out there right now. Beatrice is saying, good morning, WURD family. Peace and blessings, praying for peace in our community. Condolences to families impacted by gun violence. Lord, have mercy. And Dre Terry said, good morning, Dr. Mark and Bishop Dwayne, WURD family and everyone. So thank you all for joining us and engaging us on social media as well. And we look forward to being able to continue to serve you in this way.
Yeah, man, I want to say that Marvin actually posted something on Facebook that makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. First, he talks about education, but then the second line is important. He says, if you have something to lose, you think differently. Mm-hmm. And one of the big problems in our country is that for black men in particular, especially like young black men, that they're really, people can't see a future for themselves. They don't see themselves, we don't see ourselves typically as a part of this, this country's future, or as a group that's really wanted, and the doors are open. And you almost have to push, those who get in there, you almost have to like push yourself in there, right?
Right.
The video, I don't know where the video is, Rob. Maybe Kawesa can check that. Thanks for letting us know on Facebook. I'm looking at the commercials, thinking you guys are still on a delay. And so, yeah, but that there is something, though, to be said about having an investment in something. Mm-hmm. And, look, let's be honest, that as we saw this last summer, as the city went up in flames quickly, that it's not just simply about trying to keep one group out, as though somehow, what's happening today, what you're looking at is going to be just contained in Southwest Philadelphia or West Philly or the North Philly, that eventually that spills over. And so it is in everybody's best interest to open up the doors and to make people feel like you actually have something to lose, that you have some stake in this. Because when you don't, you just throw it away easily.
Right. Well, I mean, I've often said that. I think, sometimes we because we've been treated small, we think small, and then that doesn't allow us to get to the place where we are able to actually be free to think differently and to think big. I think people think too small. One of the things that I used to talk about when I was growing up in the city is that, there are people that have lived their whole lives never leaving their neighborhood. And I never understood that, right? Philadelphia, I mean, I've been in every part of the city as a child, even going to school all across the city, participating in, a variety of activities and stuff. But there's some folk that have never left their communities, never had a chance to fully experience, all that the city has to offer. Myopic. I mean, we want to encourage people to have big worldviews and to see the world differently. Even dealing with my kids sometimes in the social media stuff, and I'm like, y'all worried about what people on social media that doesn't really have one thing or another going on. The world is much bigger than that. We have bigger concerns to address and deal with, and not so much be caught up in some of the myopic stuff, which goes back to some of the violence and issues that are impacting our community. It's like it's so petty, and I'm like, we're so bigger and better than that.
Yep. Man, I tell you, we have a lot of work to do. Moving on this morning, because we're like, I can't believe it, this time goes so fast on the show. And we do want to touch on a couple of things that are equally as important. And because, again, all of this, ties in together and creates this cycle of either good or a cycle of bad, right?
Right.
And one of them has to do with, again, having a stake in this. That's what we were just talking about, right? That when you have a stake in something, then you want to participate, you feel as though it's yours, and you're not going to burn it down. You're not going to let anybody else burn it down. You're going to hold it down because, again, it's yours. So what do you make of this move by Mayor Kinney's board? They call it a school board. I call it Mayor Kinney's board because an actual school board is, I don't know, elected by the citizens. This board is appointed by the mayor. I know. There's a nominating committee that gives him names, and that's where he picks them. But he also picks the nominating committee.
Right.
So this is the mayor's board through and through. And so they have now moved toward making it more difficult for parents in particular and community activists and organizers to engage with the board. So it used to be that if you just signed up, that whoever signed up had an opportunity to speak at the old SRC meetings, and then even as it transitioned to the school board, the same thing. They now have limited it to 10 students and 30 others to speak per meeting. The ACLU obviously is saying that this violates the State Sunshine Act, but more troubling than that is, why would you do this in an era where public education is so critical? Again, we're talking about trying to address these ills in our community: mass incarceration, rampant gun violence, underemployment, and the schools are such a linchpin to fixing that. People have a vested interest, and now you're going to say we want to tamp down and actually make it more difficult for people to participate. Help me understand how this makes for a more democratic process, because I don't get it.
Yeah, so here is what's happening with that. So I think that in the article it pointed out what it was. Their last meeting was 8 hours. And part of the challenge is with school boards. And when I was on Norristown City Council, when there were particular issues that came up, the comment section, even though we limited the comments to like 3 minutes, which Philadelphia City Council does as well, there are and City Council of Philadelphia, by the way, requires you to mention the bill that you're going to address. So you can't just address anything. It has to be something very specific that is going to be addressed in council before you can do that. But here's the challenge, right? The school board meetings are at night, right? Because the school board members actually have other jobs. And so when the meetings take so long, and I'm guessing this, And the only reason I'm guessing this is because I've been on the other side of what that table looks like. And people can go on ad nauseum, and I shouldn't say ad nauseum, but folk go on. There's a lot of repetition in what's being said, and what I also read in the article too is that they don't want people who just show up at the meeting to be the only stakeholders to get a say in the process of what's happening in the school board and the decisions that the school board made. For example, they talked about the reopening plan that Dr. Height was trying to push, and as a result of the comments section, it was pulled off the table. Now, in reality, that's participatory democracy works. And people who show up and have the loudest voice and organize the best actually get to influence what happens in that space. And what doesn't happen in that space is the mayor gets what he wants because the mayor's not in the room at that time, right? I think you said it best. It's the mayor's board, right? The mayor wants what the mayor wants. And when there's that level of opposition, then what you do is you come along and you say, well, it's not giving space for all the stakeholders to be able to say what they need to say in this process. And so it's a control mechanism. And actually, I agree with the ACLU. It's against the law. It's against the law in the Sunshine States. Just so folk know, school boards in the state of Pennsylvania are actually political entities, just like a city council is, just like a state legislature is. And so when a school board meets, it has to follow the same laws that any government entity would follow with regard to public comment, because it is a democratic institution. Not democratic in the sense of political party, but democratic in the sense that it's supposed to be an open space where people are able to participate in the process and have a say, because it's a taxing unit. And so a taxing unit has to have public input.
Well, that's critically important, what you just said. And so it's not something that can just make up rules as it goes along. And there is a reason. There's a reason why you have to have public comment. Because like you said, if not, then it becomes an echo chamber. So if you only have 30 people, it's conceivable that the 30 could be the people that you want to reinforce some bad policy. I don't know. Like sending kids to schools with asbestos in the building. Or lead in their drinking water. I don't know. I mean, something crazy like that, or having them use the internet in parking lots on days where it's 30 degrees outside. I have no idea. But my point is that, a part about Philadelphia in the organizing space is that if nothing else, you have the opportunity to raise your voice. And, it just seems so counter to the fact that, I mean, when you go back in the last 10 years, remember, when we started Power, it was started during the time where there was the SRC. And that was for a while under Governor Corbett. So the board was definitely Republican leaning, right? Because he outnumbered folk who were on there. So you think then that pulling it away from the state, bringing it back to the city is something that is an effort to bring it closer to the people who live closest to the pain and to hear their voices. And what happens? You bring it back in the city and it becomes less democratic.
But let's be honest, the board is not reflective of the demographics of Philadelphia, right? It is part of the black elite and the mayor's friends that get to be on the board.
Well, some people would say you and I are part of the black elite. So
I reject that statement. But
well,
anyway.
whatever. I'm just saying, I have been called a part of the black elite, and whatever that means. I mean, so I guess if I've gone to college and pledged a frat and can afford to take a vacation where I want to, I guess that makes me a part of the black elite, whatever, I mean, I guess that's what that means. But that doesn't mean where your heart is,
That's right.
So just because what you can afford to do does not, mean where your heart is. But to me, it's really about the fact that the board is doing something that is not reflective of what at least publicly the mayor said the move to get rid of the SRC and to bring, the management of public schools closer into the city was about. And that was supposed to be more democratic, which is why I said from the beginning of that plan that we should reject it categorically. The school board should be elected by the people. That's because right. Here's my question about the Police Advisory Commission. Same thing, that if it's appointed by council and the mayor, here's what happens in a moment like this. Who do you punish right now for this bad policy?
Right. Well, I mean, it would have to be a lawsuit. So you could actually go after the board and do a lawsuit around this. But you do not have the capability, we do not have the capability of replacing anybody on that board. The only person that you can go after on this is the mayor.
That's my point. And how do you go after a mayor who is lame duck, who can't run again, who's got 3 more years and can't be recalled?
That's
so
right.
What is the recourse of the public in a moment like this with Kenny School Board? Please, somebody tell me, what can you do? Because now, at least like the SRC, we could go in and blow them up. We knew what we were saying.
They got blown up a lot. They got blown up a lot.
I was there, you were there, Wilder and others. That's how Helen Gim and Kendra Brooks became even known in the city. I mean, look, we would blow them up, and we come out of there saying, they're still going to do whatever the hell they want to do, but at least we felt better if we were on record. But now you can't even go on record to register your disgust with them.
Yep.
That would be like having a radio.
They said that you can send in unlimited written comments, which they will never read.
Well, that's like having a radio show where you don't let callers call in. Who would do that?
Don't get Will started.
Like, so undemocratic. Somebody ought to sue a radio show like that. The ACLU. I'm so glad we're so much better than the Philadelphia School Board on the Power Hour. On that note, we got to take a break. It's 6:40 in the morning, 44 degrees. We'll be right back on the other side.
Did you know you can use LIHEAP to pay your PICO bill? Last year, PICO customers received almost $17 million in free LIHEAP support. This year, take advantage. This deal is first come, first served. Apply now. Call 800-34-HELP-4.
WURD Radio celebrates Black History Month with Black Artist Story 365. Brought to you by Southwest Leadership Academy Charter School.
Welcome to Black Artist Story 365. My name is Envy McKee. Get into this episode where we explore the art and artistry of revolutionary poet Gil Scott Heron. King Gil was born in Chicago, Illinois. His mother, Bobby Scott, was an opera singer who performed with the New York Oratorio Society. His father, Gil Heron, nicknamed the Black Arrow, was a Jamaican soccer player in the 1950s who became the first black man to play for the Celtic Football Club in Glasgow. What? Heron decided to attend Lincoln University because Langston Hughes, his most important literary influence, was an alumnus. After about 2 years at Lincoln, he took a year off to write the novels The Vulture and The Nigger Factory. Uncle Gil was very heavily influenced by the Black arts movement and the Last Poets. Although King Uncle Gil never completed his undergraduate degree, he was admitted to the writing seminars at Johns Hopkins University, where he received an MA, that's a Master of Arts, in creative writing. His music, most notably on the albums Pieces of a Man and Winter in America in the early 1970s, influenced and foreshadowed later black music genres such as hip-hop and neo-soul. King Duke Uncle Gil is considered by many to be the first rapper/MC ever. His recording work received much critical acclaim, especially one of his best-known compositions, The Revolution Will Not Be Televised.
You will not be able to stay home, brother.
Given the political consciousness that lies at the foundation of his work, we'll say Star Uncle Gil was the founder of political rap.
You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised.
So that's it for this episode of Black Artist Story 365. My name is Envy McKee. To hear more, tune into The Envy McKee Show, Friday nights, 7 to 10 p.m., right here on WURD.
Black Artist Story 365 was brought to you by Southwest Leadership Academy Charter School and the Pennsylvania Lottery. Get to winning with Win, 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 the new scratch-off from the Pennsylvania Lottery, with top prizes of $500,000. Players must be 18 or older. Please play responsibly. Benefits older Pennsylvanians every day. Words from our past. WURD Radio celebrates the powerful voices of Black history. Reverend Dr. Leon H. Sullivan.
If there is anything in earth that makes man akin to God, It is his power to believe. For things are to us what they are on the basis of what we believe them to be, whether they be true or whether they be false. If, for example, you believe that a straight line is the shortest distance between 2 points, then for you this is true in spite of the fact that there is no such thing as a straight line in a crooked world.
Words from our past, exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. This episode brought to you by Comcast.
Tune in every Saturday at 6 p.m. to Recovery Talk 101 with your host, Rick Ford, talking about addiction, treatment, and recovery, right here on WURD Radio.
Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
A jam up on the Schuylkill, and this report is sponsored by Staples Stores. The Schuylkill eastbound barely moving Broad Street to Front Street due to road work. It's backed up from Passyunk Avenue. A disabled vehicle in the Schuylkill eastbound before you get to Gulf Mills. The shoulder's blocked. It's backed up from 202. A 6-minute delay there. Eastbound again, more delays City to Spring Garden Street. 95 southbound barely budging Cotman to Bridge Street. The Vine Expressway westbound delays 8th Street to Broad Street. On the Boulevard southbound, that's jammed Broad Street to Wissahickon Avenue. The highway down to 2 lanes. That's due to road work. Slow traffic on 55 northbound north of Deptford. That's just due to a lot of volume. Staples has everything you need, like furniture, at amazing prices. Now at Staples, select chairs are 40% off. Plus, when you buy any office chair, get 25% off all desks, file cabinets, chair mats, cases, and lighting. In-store only offer ends 2/27/21 while supplies last. Staples. For more traffic information, go to Sigler.com. I'm Ann Evans with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Now, a WURD weather update. Here's NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
Sunshine today and a gusty wind. That's going to keep temperatures a bit cooler than what we saw yesterday, but still a nice warm up to 47 degrees this afternoon, and the wind will die down later today. Cold tonight, a low of 30 Friday morning, sunshine and 47 the high temperature, dry through the day on Friday. But Friday night clouds are back and a rainy day Saturday with a high of 56. I'm NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley with your most accurate forecast. Count on it.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour with Mark Kelly Tyler, Dwayne David Royster. Hey, WURD family. WURD Radio is a devoted team of hosts, producers, and staff doing everything we can to serve black people. As other media outlets grapple with trying to discover the needs of the black community, WURD puts those needs front and center, and we fight for them every day, all day. As we enter the final week of Black History Month, we know that our work is a part of history. A history of black voices that refuse to be silenced. We honor and call the names of those who've made black history. There's Mary McLeod Bethune, James Baldwin, Garrett Morgan, Elijah McCoy, Malcolm X, and the list goes on. But how are you making black history? This is one of the most challenging times in history, and we need you to stand with us. For $90 per year, $1.73 per week, or 24 cents per day, you can take action. Let us know that what we do matters to you. Sign up today at wordradio.com/join now and type in the name of a person in black history that you honor or the host that sent you and be heard. Find more information at wordradio.com/join now. And I just wanted to say, I know that things are going off the rails on Facebook right now.
I know. I mean, we've laid out like such great topics this morning. I mean, and yet it's all bogged down into a conversation about elitist versus not elitist. It's just so ridiculous.
I was going to come back and say something about being black, bougie, a member of a Divine Nine, and also for Raphael's sake to understand, I also am a Mason. So you should know that as well. So
every black hero or heroine, almost without exception, that you all laud and celebrate by your standards today would be the quote-unquote black elite.
Yes, right.
Dr. King, Mahalia Jackson, Septima Clark, Prathia Hall, on and on, A. Philip Randolph, Mary McLeod Bethune, Frederick Douglass, for sure. I mean, come on, y'all, get off of it, okay? Just get off of it. It's a ridiculous argument because
I'm
it's
sorry
not
I brought
about.
it up. I really am. I'm sorry
Well,
I brought
no,
it up.
what it is, but it just exposes. Look, I mean, it's ignorant. It's ignorant because at the end of the day, there are not enough people who do the work.
That's right.
And that's why I try to tell folk all the time when people want to like bog me down into these crazy conversations out in the streets. I'm like, you want to spend all your time railing at me about black preachers who are not here, and I'm in your face walking in a protest march with you. How much sense does that make? That would be like me yelling at you about young people who are not here, and you're here. It's, you know what? If we're here, let's do the work. So, I mean, I don't need to prove to anybody because I got a 30-year resume of organizing and doing things that literally I don't have to do and being in places I don't have to be. You know, so I mean, it's, you know, like I said again, it speaks, as they say in the song, let the work I've done speak for me. And so, I mean, you know, people are put off by that, about the choices that I make, about what I drive and what I do with my money. Well, I mean, you know, salute. Nobody's here criticizing you about what you do and decisions you make. Being down is not about where you live, about where you vacation, about who you marry. It's about what you do with your time. How are you a steward of your time? How are you trying to make life for black people better with your time, with your resources, with your energy, with the days and hours that God has gifted you? And if you can show a good accounting for that, then it shouldn't matter. All the other stuff shouldn't matter, to be quite honest with you. I know folk from the hood who got way more reason to be involved in this who don't. Who don't participate, who don't show up. So come on, y'all. We got bigger fish to fry. Seriously. Y'all are crushed. Y'all are just amazing to me. So, I mean, you know, Dr. King was an alpha.
That's right.
Almost all these people
and a
are
Mason.
fraternities.
He was a Mason too. He was a
and
Mason
sororities. And now all of a sudden, it's elitist. Jesus, read your history.
I apologize for making that comment earlier, referring to the School Board of Philadelphia as the black elite. And it was a statement that I was making to feel like that, to help people understand that sometimes the people that get in those positions are disconnected from the base of people that they ultimately are representing. And we should classify, there's the black elite that are the 1%ers that are disconnected. And then there are the black folk, which I think Du Bois would have called the talented 10th, that are working to give back to the community and help advance our community and our race. And I think we have to distinguish between the two.
I mean, listen, the reality is this, that it is about what you, listen, I mean, so I don't even know folk who are on the board right now. And so I'm not going to cast aspersions on them. But I will say that I don't like this policy that they're putting forward. But, you know, again, let's just be honest about the system as it was set up for the school board, because it is very important as we talk about what's coming next for the Police Oversight Commission, CPOC. And so what they're trying to do is going to be something very similar if we don't have something that is a more democratic process for how people get on the board and how you check them when they do things that the community doesn't like. Right now, because of this process, that board is sheltered. Nobody else has that protection. If you're on city council and you make a decision that we don't like, we can at least go after you in an election. There are consequences because you want to keep your seat. But when you have a situation like this and you don't have a recall measure for the mayor, which I think we need to find a way to work around as well, then you basically have a board that can do whatever it wants and there are no repercussions. As long as they can stand the public scrutiny and the outcry publicly, they can keep it moving. They can keep it moving. And that's what we can't have. Now, I put something in the chat because I want to end on a bit of good news, because I think that there are ways that public servants ought to do this differently. And Catherine Gilmore Richardson is a great example, council member. We posted it in the chat earlier. I think I'll try to put it back in there now in both YouTube and Facebook. But this is what she decided to do. She had a big hearing back in, like, I don't know, September, October, and had a number of people come in and testify about her new bill around the police union contract being negotiated in the open. They took that, all of the hearing, everybody's comment, and they put it in a beautiful summary report that's on a PDF. They have links to the YouTube recording so you can watch the entire hearing. They want you to be involved in the process. Shout out to Catherine Gilmore Richardson and her staff, because this is what we expect out of, you know, elected officials going forward. What we're seeing in the school board is going backward. That's the old way. Give us your money, but you can't say nothing about it. The new way is, no, this is your government. Come in and have your say. Whether we think you're crazy or not, this is your space. You can speak, and everybody can have a say. That's the direction we need to go. And so, again, I just posted it again on both social media platforms. Take a look at it and share that with people as well, folks.
I think that that's awesome. And I had a chance to scan the report. It's a lot of pages. Which is good, right? Because it is actually covering it. And it also holds the people testifying accountable, too, for making sure that what they're telling is the factual truth from their perspective. I appreciate it. It highlighted both the guest of counsel that testified, the presence of who they were. It identified by role and purpose each person that testified. So, you know, it wasn't just a name in their testimony, but it gave a history. The Reverend Dr. Mark Kelly Tyler, pastor of Mother Bethel AME Church, co-director of Power Live Free, you know, testified, and then highlighted portions of what each of them said in their testimony. It was a powerful document. And I also think part of what Council Member Richardson was doing, Gilmore Richardson was doing, was also demonstrating what transparency looks like in government, and helping people understand that this is what it looks like when your process is done in public and not behind closed doors, where contracts are being negotiated and decisions are being made that affect the community and nobody ever sees it. So not only did she make her hearings public, but she's also saying in a very, powerful way, this is how we should operate when it comes to dealing with the issues of Philadelphia, so that Philadelphians can get access to this information for themselves.
Boom.
There it is. Oh, wow, we're out of time. All right, well, thanks, everybody, for joining us today here on the Power Hour. It's been a heck of a day. We deeply appreciate each and every one of you being here with us. Thank you, Dr. Tyler, for everything you do. Thank you, Kwesa, for holding down on the boards. We appreciate everybody that checked us out on YouTube, Facebook. Shout out to Deacon Malika Walls, who's out there today, chair of the Deacon Board of Faith UCC Church in D.C., the church I pastor. And we deeply appreciate each and every one of you. Stay tuned for Wake Up with Word with Solomon Jones. Family, do us a favor. Go out, change the damn world, because if you don't, nobody else will. Peace. We'll see you tomorrow at 6.